Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel Gear and Shitter. And today we have Yash Chaware. Yash is an eminent designer and is working with Bajaj. Yash, why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay. Hi guys. I'm Yash. I am from Pune. I'm a designer at Bajaj Auto R&D place in Akurdi, Pune. It's yeah.
Got it. So today we'll be having a quick Q&A session with Yash. How he all started, how does he see the design industry going ahead, and what is his experience in terms of the designing of automobiles.
Sure.
So, Yash, what inspired you to become an automobile designer, and can you tell us about your journey with the automobile world?
Yeah. So it's a very cliche story to talk about. It's you might have heard this story a lot of times, but it has turned into reality for me.
Right.
So it started at a very early age when my parents used to buy me Hot Wheels, and then that interest carried on throughout my school, collecting all these newspaper articles. I have like scrapbooks filled of pictures of cars and all.
Yeah.
So that interest continued for a long time. Eventually it turned into me subscribing for magazines like Top Gear, reading about cars, reading about bikes, and throughout college years also it never died. So that uh, interest of creating something or something related to automobiles was like a fire which was always there. And after my high school, realizing that there are institutions like NID and other design schools where I can pursue a career into designing automobiles or any products which can be used by people or have some tangible outcome. That was a really strong uh, choice for me.
For sure.
Yeah. So these steps along the way are where I am right now. So it's a very natural flow, and it's a very typical story, but it has been true to me.
Correct. Quite interesting.
Yeah.
And how do you strike the balance between aesthetics, functionality, and
Yeah.
engineering limitations?
So it's a very technical aspect to it. Aesthetics of a vehicle or a object or a bike, we may say, it is not purely based on what looks good or what doesn't look good. There are a lot of things behind the scenes which
happens.
Yeah. So if we take for example maybe uh, a Ducati.
Yeah.
So a Ducati is a very sculptural object.
Yes, it is.
So that bike made in Italy, it is very sculptural. What we see right now, which is very appealing. But imagine if that bike has to be created in India. So there are some rules which are defined by every country according to their homologations.
Yes.
Which have a big impact on how things are around what you are designing.
Right.
So even at Bajaj, when we work on projects, the design team does its best to come really close to what they imagine.
Right.
But there are always some restrictions from the engineering side, or maybe the laws or homologation laws, which make us tweak and play around it.
Yeah.
That makes the whole process a little interesting, because it is not every time that what you imagine is gonna be the outcome. It is a very back and forth process.
Right.
So that is one thing which is always really challenging and what keeps the mind engaged. Yeah.
Could you share your example of a challenging project that you've been working on or you worked on, and how did you overcome those?
Yeah. So I can share some projects from maybe college.
Yeah.
So I did my masters from SPD Milan. I recently graduated, and we had two major projects, one with Ducati and one with Lamborghini.
Yeah.
I can take example for the Ducati project. So it's a very hypothetical project. It's called the Statera. If you check it on Behance, you might find it. So that was a very defined brief saying that Ducati is it's a student brief. So Ducati wanted to design something as a last mile mobility vehicle, but they didn't define what the object is going to be. So it is the design groups which were there brainstormed a lot of options which can be a last mile vehicle but have the same appeal of owning a Ducati. So especially my group, we came up with something close to a motorcycle. Since a motorcycle can also be considered as a last mile vehicle, but it has we tried to make a mono wheel out of it. It is a very futuristic concept, can't be applicable right now. But giving it a thought is very interesting. So we did a lot of research of how it's gonna work or what technologies are available right now. But somehow these design briefs are very open-ended. So we can assume that some of the things which we are thinking of might be present in the future. So there were some technologies like electric motors or some battery technologies which we wanted, which were placed in a very different, which were unconventional. So we placed the batteries in the wheels, and the wheels were acting, was having a multi-function use. So it was not only balancing the bike like a gyroscope, but it also had integrated suspension systems within the wheel of it. So we didn't have any other moving parts on the mono wheel, which made it very rigid. So that was one concept, but as I said, it's a very open-ended brief, so it never came to a technical point of view. So we went back and forth with our guides and the team at Ducati. So the outcome was a very sculptural object which you can place inside your house, take it in the metro, take it in the bus, or use literally like a last mile vehicle, which will have like 10 to 15 kilometers of range depending on what technology we are taking forward. But coming up with the wheel concept was a challenge because we were thinking of how to steer, because it's a one wheel vehicle.
Mono wheel.
It can't be attached to a steering wheel conventionally, because the entire weight, the balance is on that one wheel. So understanding that was a really big challenge for especially coming from a design background, because you always think of how things look. But it is not like that. You have to have some technical knowledge about how things work mechanically, at least have an idea. You don't have to have like very minute torque figures or what kind of hardware is gonna be used, but you need to have some idea. So that was a very nice turning point for my learnings, because right now I use that in my daily daily jobs also, because I try to understand why these constraints are there and what's the reason behind not moving forward with the concept. So it becomes a very logical scenario after you know that.
With increasing focus on sustainability, how are eco-friendly materials and designs changing the landscape of automobile designs these days?
So I guess sustainability, when it comes to that topic, there are multiple companies, mostly four-wheeler companies, which are getting involved in that scenario, because the materials used in a four-wheeler are much more extensive.
Yeah.
rather than a bike.
Bike,
Because
yes.
bikes right now they have, you can count the materials on your
Yes.
fingers. There are plastics, metals, carbon, aluminium, maybe some mechanical components might be having some what do you say, high-end metals.
Yeah.
But apart from that, that's it. So cars, they have interior materials which are easily replaceable by biodegradable materials. Some
Materials.
synthetic fibers are coming up there are always trends and inventions happening in those realms. So it's a very interesting area for interior design for automobiles, where sustainability is being part. But otherwise, if you see the manufacturing processes right now, companies are doing their best to reduce their footprints.
Yes.
But the manufacturing technologies which we are using are not that compatible with sustainability.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you say even using a electric vehicle, if you think it's sustainable, it's not.
Yeah.
Because the amount of things you need to build a battery, to discard a battery, or even our grid systems right now in India are not entirely sustainable. Some of them are coal based.
Yes.
Most of it is. So in the end, you are burning fossil fuels.
Yes.
So if you it's my opinion that sustainability within the automotive industry will take time, but it will come eventually.
Yeah.
Right now it's not a very what do you say, it's not a very optimistic point in that topic. Yeah.
Okay. Will you be able to walk us through a high level process from initial design concept to the production model? I mean, what all phases are involved on a very high level?
Okay, so it is so there are in any company there are dedicated team of designers, and within the design team there are multiple classifications.
Yes.
Or you can say subgroups. So there are designers, there are project managers, head of design, there's a cast modeling team, there's a clay modeling team, there are paint shops and CMF teams. So CMF is color, material and finishes, and then there's one. So this is the creative process of any design team.
Yeah.
So how it works is usually a company has a set timeline or a pipeline of projects, which maybe they project 5 years down the line. So okay, in 5 years, then if a project starts maybe today, that's 2024, maybe by 2029 or 2027 a production vehicle, bike or car might get produced.
Yeah.
But in that process, the designers are the ones who are having a lot of creative hold on the entire process, because they are creating ideas and they are pitching those ideas to the board or to the upper management, which if the concept and the ideas align with what the board is looking for, then it gets approved. Then first level of modeling happens, then realizing it in 3D, that's cast modeling. So you basically make a digital replica or a digital model of the actual bike or the car, with the right reflections, right tension in the lines, and you can then visualize them in softwares like VRED and Blender. So you can get a very hyper realistic image and feel of the product or the concept. Once that is done, maybe get some approvals, go back and forth, maybe in the meantime, if the project is in the pipeline, then the engineering team also starts working on the chassis and frames and the powertrain side of it. And then there's a meeting point where design team and engineering team come together and discuss about how the package is gonna fit in that design, and then both the teams coordinate and make changes accordingly. the product eventually turns out to be good. And in that meantime, then according to the design changes, there are we try to make a physical model so
Right.
that people can move around and
Right.
see the details. So the clay modeling team comes in, where we make for bikes we make a 1:1 scale clay model.
Right.
And then there are different stages in clay modeling also. Then so this process continues back and forth till we get a prototype ready. It gets tested out. Even after testing, the design process keeps evolving. Yeah. And until and unless a bike is launched, the process never stops. Yeah.
Correct. Fantastic. And how do different cultures and markets influence the aesthetics? So let's say, for example, Italians, they would think something different. Indians, they would think something different. So how do you think that, and does that matter?
Yeah, so that has a big influence on what sells and what not sells in the markets of those countries.
Yeah.
So it depends on the also on various factors of the country also. The average income or the expenditures which they do on luxury items.
Correct.
That also comes into play. So a country like India, where a bike is a very necessary object, companies try to play in those price ranges a lot. Because they know that the customers who are buying bikes in India are buying it for a very functional purpose. So it is to have better mileage, as low maintenance as possible, but at the same time they also consider, okay, it should be youthful, but it shouldn't be out loud, because person above 40 might also use it. So they have a very balanced or a very a very nice scenario, and very defined. So that's why you see a lot of 125 to 150, 160 cc bikes. And then once you cross maybe 250 cc, then you are considered, okay, you are spending a lot on the bike for fun activities. So that's how the Indian scenario works. But if you talk about maybe the Italian market or even the US market, bikes are not they are always a luxury.
They are always.
Because in Europe, public transport is so good, they don't need a car, or you won't feel that you need a personal vehicle, because you are well connected everywhere. In the United States, biking is a hobby. Like after October, I guess no one carries a bike around, because the motorway speeds are so big that the bikes have to be huge capacity, and then they are used for long distances. There's a very short period of season where the bike is going to be used. Usually in snowfalls or winters, they don't use a bike. It's not safe. So that climate also plays a big role in the market. In India, it's a tropical season. All season, it's a really nice time to ride a bike, except monsoon sometimes. But it's overall, it's a really nice place for bikers.
What is your take on designing for emotion? How do you make sure that a car evokes a particular feeling or a bike evokes a particular feeling among the crowd?
So different categories of products will have different kind of emotions attached to it. So if you take, for example, maybe Royal Enfield. Royal Enfield is a very classy bike. It has a round headlight. It's a signature. It has become a signature of a classy bike, that having a round headlight, having a very roadster presence, like really low seating position or high capacity, but minimum lines, really good build quality and all. And at the same time, if you look at a Ducati, it has a very aggressive feeling.
Style,
It comes out from the design also. It's there to attack track records and all. So it's same with cars also. So if you buy a good example will be like Okay, Mercedes can be a good option because Mercedes has a very varied portfolio. So maybe if you see a A-class, or then if you see the mid-segment SUVs, and then look at the sport variants, they have a very monotonous design language, but the stance and the proportions of the vehicles give it a very athletic character, or a very sophisticated character like the S-Class. It has its own presence. So they cater to a lot of buyers through that, and keep a very distinctive family of design. So that's how markets and companies play with their design scope. So they design from various high points and low points, and bridge the gap between. So any company, if you say a flagship is launched, so that flagship is going to set a benchmark of that company, and then everything else trickles down from that. So that even if people can't afford the flagship, but there are certain elements which are translated to a base model also, which makes the buyer of that lower segment product also feel very premium. That okay, I'm in the brand, I have qualities from the flagship coming to me. So that's how things are translated.
And looking ahead, what trends do you see in future in terms of bikes or cars?
Yeah, so there are a lot of design trends which are coming in the market. If you notice, there are a lot of geometrical shapes coming up. And there's a comeback to retro styling also, right? There was a point where everything was very flashy. But now there's a very sophisticated, very clean looking bikes. Somehow they are bringing that timelessness again. So that's a really nice trend, because enthusiastic like us, they are always looking at historical past and how great the cars were, or the emotions they used to the emotions which were attached to them. So with modern design, they are striking a good balance between really high technology and like really clean, sophisticated design, which is a really nice thing according to my taste. So I guess this design trend should continue for a longer period of time, and I guess the masses will also appreciate what's coming in the market, because these bikes and cars are very high liability items. You don't want them to get old and think like, oh, it doesn't look that great after 5 years. So it's a bad investment anyway. It's a depreciating investment, but the emotional connect with an object is what makes you hold on to it, right? I guess the new design trends are falling into the right areas.
And the last one, what advice will you give for someone who like want to start their career in this field?
Okay, so it's a really good question, because there has been a spike in design aspirants. So the best way is to figure out whether you are really taking design seriously, because there are some people who are really good at art and really good at drawing, sketching, but that is not design. So I'll recommend, if you really want to pursue design, then go to the colleges which offer these design courses like NID. And even entering the gates of NID, you will come to know that okay, this is a different place. It is not an art college. They teach design as a speciality. So it is a very different domain which falls right in between artists and engineers. So you need a creative eye, but also should be having a technical point of view towards things.
Yeah.
You have to find logic between. Always ask the question, why this, why that.
Yeah.
And then there are colleges like NID, they offer a 4-year degree in bachelor's. So there are multiple disciplines like product design, graphic design, furniture, interior design, all those things, textile design. So there's a 4-year track of completing the degree, which makes you a bachelor, which then you can apply for design jobs.
Yeah.
In companies, startups everywhere. They even appreciate entrepreneurship, so you can even be an entrepreneur right out of college or while you are in college. So design that way is a very free career. Yeah, and it's a very engaging career. It's not always easy for a designer to be in the industry, because it takes hardships and it takes time, because designers are very special people and who have a very special skill set, which is required for every company or any brand, but it takes a little time to prove yourself.
Right.
So I'll always recommend, just keep pushing. Keep observing what things are happening around, and always keep an open mind to learn new things, because catching up with trends is an important part of designing.
Correct.
If you say, okay, I know everything, and once that thought comes in your mind, then you're no longer can perform in the industry.
Correct.
So keep learning, be humble, interact with people, as it's a very close-knit community.
Correct.
So you have to be very involved in what other people are also doing. Keep a track of what achievements are happening around, what trends are being played in the global market, not even in the Indian market. So there's a lot of learning.
Correct.
Then if you think, I think I want to learn more, then obviously there are master courses in it where you specialize in a particular domain. Like I specialize in transportation and automotive design. So they then separate you out of the crowd a little bit more, but then the competition even gets tougher, because now there are less people but really high skill sets. So you have to keep pushing.
Keep pushing yourself.
Things take time in the career, but it's a very enjoyable career. You'll never feel bored, or it will never be like a day has gone by and you have not learned anything.
Correct.
Yeah. So
all right, everyone. So that was Yash. We had an interesting talk. We got to learn today many things, from the nuances of designing, from ifs, hows, whats, and wheres. So thank you for your time, Yash, and best of luck for your future endeavors.
Sure, best of luck to you too.
Thank you.
And I hope I was helpful.
Very helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.